Good day, YouTubers, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all around the world. Gunports and cannons. Look at all them, like a cornfield. So we got 28 of this style, and then 62 of the larger ones that we got ready to install, painted up. So I'm pretty sure the smaller ones are going to go in these 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12. 12 and 12 is 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So yeah, the smaller ones are going to go in the round holes and the little ones on top. And these larger ones are going to go in these two lower rows. So we got to measure this with the calipers and find a drill bit that's tight fitting so we can drill a hole in that plate in there. All these have a plate back in there behind this that's painted black. So when we stick it in the hole, a little bit of the cannon will hang out based on the amount we push it through the hole. And of course glue it in place. The hardest thing I think is going to be getting the hole, as I drill it, to make it where the cannon ends up in the center of this opening. Especially where stuff is in the way, like around these shrouds and so on. But that is the next step. Drill some holes and see how these are going to fit in there, and then glue them up after they poke through the hole we drill. I've taken each one and sort of used the belt sander to rough that cut line off the end. But when I installed all these pieces of pewter on the other end, they were a real tight fit, so I had to use the hammer to beat them down on there. And that may have dinged up some of these ends because I was doing it against this metal in the vise. And as I beat it in there, it may have dinged up some of the ends where we have to clean them up again in order to get them to fit tight in the new hole. So let me get set up with the right drill bit and all, and decide whether or not I'm going to use my new, this seems to be a little archaic. I got a nice set of bits to go with this, but we got 62 plus 28, that's 72, 82, 90 holes to do, so we might want to use the drill and just make sure our position and entry angle is correct, and the diameter. Alright, we got a caliper measurement of exactly 2 millimeters on this bit. And the bit's got a little bend in it, so it doesn't run exactly smooth as it's going in. A little wobble. But from experience, that little wobble is going to create a little bit of a lead-in point on the hole. The hardest thing that I think so far is going to be seeing or finding the hole before I stab it in there. I got one to go in, and if I use a flashlight, some of these cells are blocked off from each other. The light and the tool and the cannon is going to be in the way of seeing the hole. So this is going to be a little tricky. I can see the hole when I look straight in there, but getting this to be in the right spot. I got some other pliers that have a more of a 90-degree grip on them. I don't want to scrape the paint off of the edge of the cannon, so I got to be careful, otherwise I'll be touching it up again. But I do need to have a pretty good grip on it, because it goes back in there quite a ways. Yeah, I can see the hole on this one because I've got some light coming down from the hole above it. So after a test fit, we know the hole is fairly tight. We'll get a little liberal amount of glue on there and make sure that glue is on all the way around. So when it does go in, we're going to get a bond. And of course, if you push it in too far, you can pull it back out from there. That definitely went in about 3 or 4 millimeters. And it's nice and solid. I scraped it up some, but it's sticking out enough to be acceptable for noticing there's a cannon there. So I think I drilled like 4 holes just to get a feel for how it's going to go in and work. It's a little awkward because I'm trying to make the drill bit aligned with the center of the opening and at the right angle. You can see that little bit of a wobble there. That helps chamfer the edge of the opening of the hole. I'm having to hold the end of the ship so it doesn't move while I'm pushing on it. I do have a big heavy block of steel behind there, but it's sort of in the middle of the ship. think this is going to work okay. It's going to be a lot trickier in the areas where the shrouds are in the way. We may have to go for doing them by hand with a bit extension or something. I don't know. I'm going to try to get a different grip on this so I'm not grabbing the pewter part of the cannon where the paint's at. And then to see where the hole is. If I look straight in there, there's enough light around here I can see the opening of the hole. A little bit of the white sawdust of the wood is, but this grip I have is not far enough out to get it jammed in there. Maybe I can stick something in the mouth of that cannon. It's really hard to see once I stick that in there whether or not I'm lined up with the opening of the hole. And then these pliers don't have a knurled face on the jaws to help grip that. Yeah, that helps a lot, being able to see. And then I know it's not in the all the way, but if I smack it, yeah. So that'll work. I'm probably going to have to touch these up though, because the way I'm grabbing it, yeah, the inside of these pliers are sort of smooth. What else do I got? Ooh, I'm looking up here where all my pliers and cutters and stuff are at, hanging there on that magnet bar. These got some teeth on the gripping surface, so I think that might work better, and it's more angle. Make sure that glue is actually going to be enough there. Now let's set that on the opening of the hole. This peg on this one is a little shorter than the other ones. I tried, they were calling for 25 millimeters. And I tried cutting them at like 28. But I'm sure some of them are going to be a problem and not long enough. So let's see if we can get this one to start. glue on the opening there. Let's get that inserted first, and then we'll clean that glue up. Yeah, I can feel it go in. I don't have my rag handy. Okay, that will work. We're just going to have to fight each one of them. Each one of them one at a time until we get all 90. Yeah, this is going to take a little while. I'm not going to torture you guys with installing every second one of them because yeah, when I set the first few holes in this board, I wasn't thinking how deep I should go. And these little burrs hanging out in the back here from where I jammed that piece of pewter onto the wood aren't going to show because that butt of the pewter part is back in there quite a ways. So I don't think that'll be a problem. As you can see, looking down through here, some of these sort of ripped some of the wood off of the end of the stick as I beat them down on there. All these other ones I had to glue on with some E8000. And then I painted everything. And I used this board as a holding fixture to do all the painting, so I could look at them from all angles and then get that paint on there as best I could see. So we shall continue installing cannons. I was looking in the plans because the hard part was getting those things all together. Now we know that getting them into the holes is not going to be too bad. It's just each one of them's a little trapeze artist act. But once we get all them glued in there, the next thing in the instructions I'm zooming in here so you can see. Is making the cannon doors, the gunport covers, gunport doors. And we've got some WS2, which I'm pretty sure is just regular plank boards that we're going to have to cut and glue together. Make sure they're square, 10 millimeters square. And then paint them. And then take some planking boards, WV5, which I think is the real thin stuff that goes over the top of the main planking. And it says 14 millimeters, WV5. Oh, I see. So it overhangs the 10 millimeters by 2 millimeters around the perimeter. Boy, this is going to be a pain in the butt. And you can see they just sloppily glued 2 thin pieces on the back of that blue painted door cover or door face. And then they trimmed them and sanded them to make it 2 millimeter overhang. And looking like that. And I guess they're painting the back of it. With the blue also. But yeah, they're painting the back of it and the edge. But the face facing out, it's just got the N3 color, which is a stain wood grain color. And then the final thing for one door is gluing on this little decoration that's been painted gold, made out of pewter. And then gluing on two hinges, which are brass laser cut pieces, onto the back with a little bit overhang and a 3mm spacing from the edge. So the detail is just ridiculous in order to get it to look like this final product. And you know, we got 62 cannon doors to cover minimum. And to make it even worse, the next page after you've created that door, taking a little 20mm section of wire and bending it to create a loop that's twisted. That'll probably be the thing that holds the door open. And yep, drill a 1/2 millimeter hole in the door back. And then let that thing stick out 1.5 millimeters. So that went pretty smooth once I got a system down. We got all the ones on the lower two gun decks done on this starboard side. And now I'm going to attempt to drill a hole with these shrouds in the way. Some of them won't be bad, but other ones will. I got a problem there because I think the drill bit, even though I extended out all the way on the chuck, may not be. Now, I do have some. I guarantee you that's too big, but I don't have a small enough long one. So we may have to do some of them by hand with this little spin drill. Let's see if I got. Even that's going to be a problem, because it's got to go way in there to hit that wood. And these small drill bits are not very long. Those are 1 millimeter, and these are a 1/2 millimeter. These green ones are 1/2 millimeter. So well, we'll just do one hole there at a time where the tough spots are and see if we can get in there. Alright, so these are not easy. I got a hole drill in there, and I was able to get in there with this. You can see that one dead eye is bent there. I'm getting in there. So I got them all drilled out. The putting this bit in the drill worked in these open areas, but when you're up in here, there ain't no way. So these are glued on with E8000, and it's sort of like a silicone, but it's a little stronger than E6000, and some of them are a little shorter than the other ones because when you glue it on, you don't know where the middle is, and so getting a liberal bead on there. And for like these ones that are with the shrouds in the way, I gotta grip it by the cannon so I can make sure that I'm hitting the hole. And some of them I had to go back in there and make sure that hole was opened up enough. It's a tight fit because this is 1mm and the drill bit is 1mm. You want a tight fit. This one I want to show you here. Now you can see the drill bit went in there. So I know the piece will fit. But we got to be able to see the opening of that hole and line this up without getting glue all over the gun port or your shrouds. And I'm really going in left-handed. I can't do that. I got to use my right hand. See where that hole is. So the main point I want to make here about doing this is when you cut your rods to the 25mm, maybe you should cut them like 35mm. You know, once it goes in there, it doesn't matter how far back that pin goes behind where you drilled, because it's open behind that wall where those holes are at. But if your pin is too short, you're going to have a real hard time getting in there around these shrouds. The ones that are in the open area, like these, aren't near as bad because you can get your pliers in there. But these other ones that are behind the shrouds, and of course when you drill your hole, you want to make your hole at the angle where the cannon's going to miss hitting the shroud. So where the shrouds are at, some of these holes are drilled at a little bit of an angle. And I was able to get that one started in the mouth of the hole. So with a little bit of tappy tap tap, not too much, we don't want to break the glue loose where that rod is inside the cannon hole. So the ones behind the shrouds are done. So we'll do these other ones here. I got the two up there in the front done. So it's not too bad. It's just a little tedious getting your hole drilled. This is the key. I've got tons of stuff for drill bits and 4 different drills, but as far as a chuck to hold a little drill bit like this, that's the smallest one I got. I looked through all my crap. The only other option would be to buy a drill bit that's longer, and then you could get in there easier with your drill to punch those holes back there. The other thing is to drill them holes before you put your shrouds and dead eyes on. So we will be able to finish this side this week. I'm going to peck away at these other few that are left. You cut it at 1.5 millimeters, I guess. Yeah, cut it. Glue it in there. So you got a little loop sticking out of the back of the door. I might use some pre-made eyelets if I got some left over from other ships, instead of trying to make all that crap out of wire. And then drill another hole in the side of the ship and stick a piece of wire in there. And the next page is showing oh boy, they're bending the end of that hinge down. Definitely want to do that before we glue it on. Bending it down, so that would make sense, because you want that to rest on this framework around the opening of the gun port. And then that little piece of wire that you drilled and stuck through the side of the ship goes in the eyelet to hold the door open. Oh my gosh, these cannon doors are going to take weeks. And then we do anchors after that. Okay, so we know that this is going to be a very painstaking, just making the doors themselves. It's going to be a painstaking process. And you got to do it 62 times and make them all the right dimensions and paint them and get them ready to install, just like we're doing the cannons now. So as before, we do one step at a time, and before we go on to putting doors on, we're going to put all the cannons into the gun ports. So all of them are done on this side, starboard. I'm not going to do any more today because I got another big project I'm working on. So we'll turn that ship around and ping the rest of them in maybe tomorrow or Monday, or anyway, I'm gonna show you what my next project is. Of course, I just finished painting the house. I did the trim and the walls, and everything is painted for another 10 years. And we ended up painting these posts in here the trim color instead of leaving it white. So I think it looks nicer that way. My wife was wanting me to paint these rib frame boards and leave the white background on the cabinets too, but I said, maybe not. So anyway, the next project, thin set and grout tile cutter, and that's what we're going to put on. So these fit together like a puzzle. The opposites, so you can see the bump here would fit in the recess there, and same thing side to side, top to bottom. So when you put them on, there's no gaps or grout lines that are bigger than these seams that are here already. And those are about two square feet. So we're going to put it on from that blue line down to the ground on the front of the house here. So before I can just glue that to the wall or thin set it to the wall, thin set concrete mud mix, we got to have something for it to bond to, because you can't just glue tile onto a paint cement block, because it'll rip the paint off if the paint will not hold. So we're putting this concrete fiber board on the wall where the tile's going to go, to give us a simulated rock effect. I'm going to put another sheet there to go up to where the fence is, and then wrap it around all the way into the porch where the door is. And we're debating on whether or not to do these columns, but we'll go ahead and do the wall first, and then if we want to do the columns later. So from here down, we're going to cover this with the concrete board. You can see I've already spent a day putting this board on, screwing it down with Tapcons and concrete drill. Well, that's my next project. A stone veneer. Sort of looks like a slate. And this particular product is made in Spain. We got a good price on it. So thanks for watching.